The following video contains spoilers for the entirety of new Pokemon Snap. You have been warned. I suppose even the most stoic among us are sometimes moved by the call of nostalgia, and it looks like I'm no exception. With the excited thoughts of a simpler time when controllers had only one analog stick, processors had just become 64 bits, and models had polygon counts in the double digits, I shamelessly picked up a copy of new Pokemon Snap for the Nintendo Switch. New Pokemon Snap is arguably Nintendo's most experimental foray into the world of Pokemon. What at first glance is simply a loose remake of Hideaki Anno's seminal 1990s mecha-genre deconstruction Neon Genesis Evangelion is actually more a radical course correction for the beloved anime. A retelling that seeks not just to move past the regrets fans felt at their initial rejection of the poignant, philosophical, yet noticeably giant fighting robot-light ending, but to eradicate hurt and heartbreak fans endured at the full tilt body slam fuck you mic drop that was Anno's response to the very same, the end of Evangelion. The man responsible for leading the new Pokemon Snap project for Bandai Namco is director and shameless weeb Haruki Suzaki, who, when asked by Bloomberg reporter Jason Schreier about his vision and inspiration for remaking a beloved 90s classic, had this to say. When Anno made that movie and made Shinji jerk off on Asuka while she was unconscious in that hospital bed, he was saying, "This is you, specifically, Haruki." And he's right. I mean, Asuka best girl. But when he made Asuka call me, specifically, pathetic, after Shinji tries and fails to choke her to death at the literal end of the world, my penis went limp in my hand, and I knew I could bring that experience, that utter confusion and dismay, and failure to understand why Daddy Anno wouldn't just make the Eva do the punch like I like, into a game about taking pictures of Pikachu and make a satisfying experience for 8-year-olds. The differences in Suzaki's vision are apparent immediately, though the familiarity is equally undeniable. You're placed in the role of Shinji, though your name is never uttered aloud, and instead of being pulled out of school by your emotionally abusive but only when he's not totally absent father, and thrown into the chaos of an alien invasion by being shoved into the cockpit of a giant robot powered by the soul of your dead mother, you're taken away from summer vacation by your cool uncle, and thrown into an internship role in an extensive postdoctorate study on wildlife by being shoved into the cockpit of a Volkswagen powered by the soul of your dead mother. It's a subversion that would make Ryan Johnson weep. The role of Rei, no, not that one, this one, is examined in a new light in the character of Rita, who teaches several of the in-game mechanics to Shinji. Unlike Rei, however, Rita is vapid, loquacious, and constantly inquisitive. It's hard to see what Suzaki was trying to say about this character when she's likable at worst, yet the player, as Shinji, must still take an entire photo course through a giant vat filled with her lifeless, unactivated clones, though the early game scene where, if the player refuses his role as pilot of the Neo 1, Rita must take his place and is involved in a horrific crash involving a rampaging Snorlax is both a bleak statement on the nature of the player-developer relationship and more than sufficient motivation for the player to complete their photo decks, if that was lacking before. Phil, the player's friendly and spirited, if mechanically non-functional rival, takes up the mantle of Kaworu, clear from his constant doting on the player, and also he has gray hair, so duh. An interesting twist the new Pokemon Snap places on Phil is that, instead of being sent to Mirror's lab by a clandestine government organization hell-bent on creating a catastrophic event that will unmake humanity as we know it and force sentient life on Earth into its next evolution, Todd Snap from the original Pokemon Snap brings him along as an intern. The subtle poetry of this simple change is unmistakable. We are slaves to our past selves, and in the light of our own mistakes, grown to maturity, blossom the seeds of our own destruction. Asuka is a dog, an odd and disgustingly Canadian move by Suzaki. Animals can't consent, Haruki! And Masato is noticeably absent, which makes the choice to include Pin in this game a curious one. Anyway, our characters are established and it's time to get in the goddamn robot, Shinji. Professor Mirror, obviously named so because he's a mirror-esque version of Gendo Ikari, hands you a shitty bridge camera and tells you to get to work. Hope you don't like taking actually good pictures, because there's no manual mode on this sucker, and Mirror has never heard of the rule of thirds because he tells you to make sure your subject is smack dab in the middle of the frame. That's not aesthetic, Mirror. Anyway, he throws you in Unit 01 and says, "Good luck, have fun, don't die." Guess I shouldn't expect better from a man who has rats in his house. Either way, you hop into the Neo 1 and you're off to snap some Pokemon. Instead of putting you on an actual railroad track like the original Pokemon Snap, which would have been expected, or bringing the Neo 1 up through a giant elevator, which would have been easy, Suzaki has made the commendable creative choice to have Shinji teleported into each photo course. So, while the original Snap's rail raised tough questions about the 19th century westward expansion of the United States and its catastrophic consequences for indigenous peoples and wildlife alike, New Snap's teleportation system asks the question, what does it mean to be me? If you disassemble my atoms and reconstruct them in a different place, is it me that ends up on the other end, or a new person with all my memories? Am I just some twisted homunculus that dreamed he was a child? Will my parents reject me when I return to them, like a bird that smells the taint of humanity on her wayward chicks and, knowing they are now and forever bathed in original sin, pushes them out of the nest to their deaths so they may never leave their odious mark on the world? Don't think about it, Shinji. Just take the pictures. Mirror doesn't even just want the good ones either. Instead of constantly telling you how much of a disappointment you are, he pushes up his anime glasses and puts the bad photos up on the fridge like he's proud of you or something. He doesn't even tell me that he doesn't love me. What the fuck, Sasaki? I can't get off to this! Anyway, Pokénerve uses its holographic map to track the impacts of the angels, Illumina Pokemon, but instead of teaming up with annoying teenage girls to destroy them, Shinji is simply told to photograph them. Like, for posterity or whatever. While it seems initially an innocent nature documentary expedition, after documenting the first 5 Illumina Pokemon, Mirror's sinister designs are finally revealed. Shinji's coached inaction against the Illumina Pokemon wasn't for the sake of cataloging and preserving wildlife, but rather to manipulate the only Neo 1 pilot capable of stopping the Poké impact into instead becoming complicit in its execution. The 5 Illumina Pokemon transfer their power into Xerneas, who merges with Shinji to complete instrumentality of the human and Pokemon races. Perhaps the greatest statement Sasaki makes in New Pokemon Snap is in its endgame, where the consciousness of Shinji reconstructs the Pokénerve lab and speaks, at length, to the ghosts of Phil, Rita, Todd, and Mirror, who congratulate Shinji on his acceptance of instrumentality, bringing a close to the wide circle of fan denial, bargaining, depression, and eventual acceptance of Anno's original, masterful vision, after which the player is made to forever take photographs of Pokemon they know are dead, in a world they know is destroyed, gaining ever higher scores but eternally unable to undo their naive facilitation of the cataclysm that killed everything they love. Pathetic.